Okay, now.
I'm the top dog in the league, homie. Yeah. Let's speak on it. This is a stretch for anybody to reach on me. Just breathe on it. Don't tell them. They gotta know it's me on it. Won't kick it on me and go for three on you. You couldn't guard me with the cleanest armor. I got it covered. These corners. I'm the top dog in the
YouTube, what's up? What's up? Welcome back to D's Corner. Again, I'm D. We finally have football tonight. NFL is back. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Houston Texans. And before week one officially gets kicked off, I want to go ahead and get out my record predictions for every team in the NFL, what I think their record would be at the end of the season. Before we jump into it, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Any comments are welcome. If you like the video, cool. If you hate the video, cool. I need to know what I can improve on. I need to know what you guys would like to see. Any content that you would like to see, let me know. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, the team that I think, like the rest of the world, that will have the worst record in football is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looking at their schedule, looking at the roster, all the trades that they've made, this leads me to believe that they are absolutely tanking, regardless of what Gardner Minshew has to say. I just don't think he has enough around him to ensure that they aren't tanking. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have them going a horrible 0-16. The Washington football team, like everyone else, I think that they're not going to be that good. And it's not mainly because of the roster, because I think this defensive roster is pretty stacked. I think Haskins is a capable quarterback. I do think he needs a lot more around him. They released Adrian Peterson, so I'm assuming they're going to go with Gibson, the rookie running back, as their starter. I don't see them being able to really compete there, and I wouldn't say the toughest division, probably the weakest division, but it's really only a two-team division. One thing I think people may forget about is that the coach has been diagnosed with a form of cancer, and has already been told by doctors that sometime during the season he may end up being too fatigued, and they would have to revert to most likely Jack Del, who's the defensive coordinator, who has had some head coaching experience in the NFL. But anyways, the Washington football team, I have them going 1-15. The New York Giants, rookie head coach, makeshift offensive line, if you will. You got a couple of guys out on defense. The issue with DeAndre Baker. Joe Judge is coming in and trying to build his team with his type of culture and everything. And again, this is really a two-team division. They have a pretty tough schedule. I have them also going 1-15. The Carolina Panthers, again, rookie head coach, attempted to rebuild a team, lost your defensive MVP to retirement, lost your offensive MVP to releasing. This team is only going to function around Christian McCaffrey. Have a few wide receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. But I don't think it's enough. I think this team really still is trying to build, and Matt Rule has a long enough leash to do so. So I have them going 2-14. The Las Vegas Raiders, this team is an enigma. Like, they can be 8-8. They can be 6-10, 9-7. I mean, it's no. This team doesn't really have like an identity, so I mean, it's gonna be really hit or miss with this team. They lost Tyrell Williams. He's on IR, which means they're going to depend heavily on Henry Ruggs. Rookie wide receivers normally take an adjustment period to the NFL, beating press, reading zones, understanding how to get open. They haven't had a preseason. The offseason was pretty much condensed due to the pandemic. So the Raiders, I have them going 2-14. The New York Jets also have them going 2-14. CJ Mosley opted out. They traded away Jamal Adams. They don't really have any edge rush guys. I don't believe Sam Darnold has enough around him. I do not believe in Adam Gase by any means. And I think the world remembers Sam Darnold seeing ghosts against New England. Not something you really want to hear your starting quarterback announce while he's mic'd up on national TV. I just don't think this team has it yet. The Chicago Bears and the Mitchell Trubisky-led Chicago Bears, might I add. I have them going at 5-11. I don't think this team is anywhere to what it should be, anywhere what it could be. This team has a solid defense, and I think their defense will keep them in a lot of games. But I believe ultimately their offense, like last year, will keep them out of games or find ways for them to be out of games. Keep your defense on the field longer than necessary, no matter how good your defense is a weapon for disaster. So I have the Chicago Bears going 5-11. The Detroit Lions, I also have them going 5-11. This is only due to Matt Stafford's health. I think this team got a lot better this offseason. Matthew Stafford had a fractured back or something last year. I think they'll focus more on the running game with DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson. This team has weapons. It does not have the best offensive line. It does have a good quarterback, but again, this quarterback's coming off of injury. And it just looks like playing in Detroit. You know, if you're Matthew Stafford, regardless how much you love the city, how much you love the fans, how much you love playing there, no one likes losing. And this seems that all this team does is lose. And like, you have to think, if I'm getting beat up, fractured back here, out for a season because of other injuries. Like, look, Megatron left. Megatron left because of all the losing. The injuries did pile up, but you're willing to deal with injuries if you're winning. Winning masks a lot of issues, and the Lions, for some reason, just don't know how to win. The Miami Dolphins, I have them also at 5-11. They decided to start Ryan Fitzpatrick, which was a good idea. Let Tua completely recover from his hip injury, allow him to see the field, allow him to hold the clipboard for the first year or the first couple of weeks of the season. But rookie quarterbacks, even though he was a top 5 pick, sometime this year he will play. He's not going to come in and just destroy the league. Rookie quarterbacks rarely do that. Defenses are faster. He doesn't have a lot of weapons in the receiving game, but this team is peaking as far as culture being built, talent being brought in. They just have to bring it all together, and they still have a lot of cap space, and they still have a lot of draft picks for the 2021 NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals, I also have them going at 5-11. They retooled their defense. This team has a stacked offense when you look at it talent-wise. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, AJ Green, Auden Tate, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, John Ross. I mean, Joe Burrow can hand the rock off. He can throw the rock. All reports from camp have been fantastic about him, how he was lighting up their defense. He is in an extremely tough division, an extremely tough defensive division with the Steelers, Ravens, and the Browns, which is why I don't think they'll dominate that division by any means, but I do see some winnable games on their schedule. So I have the Bengals at 5-11. The Denver Broncos, I also have them at 5-11. Von Miller will now be out for the season, which is a big blow. Bradley Chubb is coming back off of injury this year, and they're already talking about him being on a snap count until they can get, basically his legs back up under him, which is extremely tough because now he'll be doubled because they don't have to worry about the other edge side because Von Miller is out. The addition of Jarrell Casey, AJ Boye in the secondary. With Von Miller, I felt like this team would still be fighting in the AFC West, but I assumed and I thought with Von Miller, the defense of weapons that they have, as well as the offensive weapons they picked up with this young quarterback, young offensive team, that they could have fought for that second place spot in the AFC West. This team does not have a good offensive line. They needed their defense, and with Von Miller out, it's a big blow. The LA Chargers, I have them at 7-9. I believe Tyrod Taylor is going to be able to win some games for this football team. He is a poised veteran. He's seen just about everything. He's been in a ton of different positions. He's led the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs. He's backed up Joe Flacco and won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He was with the Cleveland Browns before injury and being replaced by Baker Mayfield. And I'm not a big fan of Justin Herbert. Even though I know Justin Herbert was a top 10 pick, Justin Herbert will have to play. I believe most of this team's wins will come with Tyrod Taylor leading the way. They did lose Derwin James for the year, a second year in a row, which is a devastating blow. But this team has a solid defensive front. They have a nice young linebacker with Kenneth Murray. They have a solid secondary, picking up Chris Harris that can actually move Desmond King into the safety role to replace Derwin James. So I think this defense will keep the Chargers in a lot of winnable situations in this season. The Atlanta Falcons, my Falcons fans, Static, my boy, 7-9. I just don't see much out of this team. They brought in Todd Gurley, who still has knee issues. This team has weapons with Julio, Calvin Ridley. They did lose Austin Hooper. It's not a really solid offensive line. They're still young and trying to grow. The defense is atrocious. Garbage. Like, they're just really not a good defense. They have Deion Jones, and that's basically it. They're young in the cornerback room. The safeties, Ricardo Allen is good. KZ will be a free agent after this year, could possibly be traded. Keanu Neal is always hurt. I would not be surprised if they bring him closer to the line of scrimmage in maybe a linebacker safety hybrid role to play next to Deion Jones. That way you can get KZ and Allen on the field at the same time. But you have young corners who are going up against two of the greatest quarterbacks in the entire NFL, in all of NFL history, with some very talented weapons. And I just see this defense getting carved up by Tom Brady and by Drew Brees. The Cleveland Browns, I have the Cleveland Browns going 8-8. I have them a bounce back year, if you will. I still don't think they're there. I think Baker Mayfield needs to mature. But this team has all the talent in the world. Top to bottom, this is probably one of the best rosters in the entire NFL. They just have to put it together. But 8-8 is a fantastic start for a rookie head coach with this type of talented team. The Green Bay Packers, I also have them at 8-8. I really think the Jordan Love situation is going to hang over this team. If Aaron is not fantastic every single game, you have to start thinking those questions are going to start being asked to the coach. When will Jordan play? And that's just not something that you need going over your franchise quarterback's head right now, especially when he has off the field issues going on. I believe he just got divorced. He has no weapons on the field outside of Devontae Adams. If Devontae Adams gets injured again, it's going to be a bunch of no-name guys like it's been before for Aaron. I just think it's a lot on this team. I think they're going to fold under the pressure this year and end up at 8-8. The Las Vegas Rams, I have them also going at 8-8. The NFC West is a crazy division because honestly, I can see all of the teams with 9 or more wins, and that to me is just crazy. There are some games here and there that I could see the Rams winning. Like I said, I could see them easily at 9-7, but right now I have them at 8-8. The Arizona Cardinals, I have them at 9-7. I think with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, you got Kenyon Drake. They fortified the offensive line, sort of, but Kyler Murray still has his escapability. All he needs is a little bit of time. He doesn't need to be running like a chicken with his head cut off as soon as the ball is snapped to him. And defensively, this team has put together a nice defensive roster. They do need another edge rusher opposite of Chandler Jones, but when you factor in Budda Baker, Patrick Peterson, and that freak Isaiah Simmons, this team should be on the rise this year, especially with a short to almost no offseason, no preseason games, and everyone knows defense is firing on more cylinders than offense early on. All they got to do is see ball, get ball. The Tennessee Titans, I have them at 10-6. I don't think or see them being able to create the same magic that they created last year. Ryan Tannehill is not that guy. Teams are going to focus on Derrick Henry and force Ryan Tannehill to beat them. And we've seen in Miami, we saw against the Chiefs, he's not able to do that. The Philadelphia Eagles, I have them at 9-7. This team, they put together a lot of talent around Carson Wentz. I could actually see them ending up 8-8. I could see them at 7-9 due to the injury sustained on the offensive line. It's very difficult to overcome you losing your left tackle as well as your guard for the entire season. And then you brought in Jason Peters to play guard. Now he's going to go back out to tackle. You just don't have the depth that you once had at this offensive line, for this offensive line. The Dallas Cowboys, I have them at 10-6. A lot of people are high on the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have always seemed to have a fantastic roster. Jerry Jones does an incredible job of getting talent into the star state. They just never seem to be able to put it together. And everyone's saying because Mike McCarthy has won the Super Bowl and with Brett Favre, he's coached Brett Favre, he's coached Aaron Rodgers, the talent that they've had. He's never had a talented roster like this from quarterback, running back, and wide receivers, all the skill positions. But Dak is in a contract year playing on the franchise tag. You have all the wide receivers thinking they're going to have 1,000 yards. Zeke saying that he's going to eat. It's only one ball. And you got to think this team defensively, they may play one game like the best defense in the league and play another game like the worst defense in the league. The Cowboys always find a way to Cowboys things up. And I have them, like I said, at 10-6. The Minnesota Vikings, I also have them at 10-6. I believe this will be the team that wins the NFC North. The Packers situation is extremely difficult to try to overcome. It's going to be like that dark rain cloud that follows them the entire season. While the Vikings are basically rebuilding their roster with a ton of young talent. They traded for Yannick Ngakoue. They have Danielle Hunter on IR, so he'll miss at least the first 3 weeks of the season, maybe the entire season. But you still have talent on this defense. You still have a lot of veteran leadership on this defense. And Mike Zimmer is a great defensive-minded coach. So this defense will keep them in a lot of games. Not to mention Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, working out of the slot, Adam Thielen. You got two fantastic tight ends with Irv and Rudolph, as well as Dalvin Cook running the rock. This team should be right there to take the NFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I have them at 10-6. This defense kept them in a lot of football games last year with Duck Hodges at quarterback, Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Now you have your franchise guy and Big Ben coming back. Big Ben can easily equate to 2-3 more wins on the year based off of him being able to improvise on plays, him being able to move around, avoid sacks, and just throw the ball to whoever's open. The New England Patriots, I have them also at 10-6. They've named Cam Newton the starter. They've lost a lot of defensive personnel to opt-outs due to the pandemic. But this is basically off of coaching. These guys get the best out of every player they seem to put on their team. It doesn't matter if it's special teamers. It doesn't matter if it's defensive players, if it's offensive players. They never seem to have, or they never seem to be able to put garbage on the field. I don't know if it's scheme or what, but they get the maximum effort out of any and all players that they put on the field in a New England Patriots jersey. The Houston Texans, I have them at 11-5. This team is right there vying for the AFC South title. They just gave Deshaun Watson a ton of money. J.J. Watt has been hurt the last several years. You have to wonder how much gas he has left in the tank. They traded DeAndre Hopkins. They do have Brandon Cooks, who's already on the injury report. Week 1, like I said, during my offseason recap grades, this guy gets a injury-prone label for some reason. I guess because the 2 times he has really been hurt, it was prime time. One was in the Super Bowl and he just got whacked. All right, the Seattle Seahawks, I have them going at 11-5. The Seahawks and the Seahawks and the 49ers out west. Like I said, the NFC West is a toss-up, but you have to go with this veteran team that's led by Russell Wilson, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL. That guy just knows how to win. He knows how to make something out of nothing. So I have the Seahawks going at 11-5. The Buffalo Bills, I have them going 14-2. This team defensively is a juggernaut. Offensively, they really need the quarterback, Josh Allen. They really need him to take that next step. Adding Stephon Diggs gives him that opportunity to do so. I think he will have more of a security blanket with him. Stephon will be out to prove that he is a number 1 receiver. He'll have a chip on his shoulder. This defense is going to play lights out. They just locked up Tre'Davious White for the long term. This team can easily win the AFC East. I really believe that this team can win. I really think that this is the year. Tom Brady is no longer there, and I think this team can finally climb that AFC East mountain and stick that Buffalo Bills flag in it, and it's Bills Mafia. The Baltimore Ravens, I also have them at 14-2. The Ravens, there's just not a lot of games where I can see them losing. Last year, if you look how fantastic the entire team played during the regular season, I see no reason for things to change, especially with Lamar Jackson seeing how many quarterbacks have gotten paid, knowing that he is about to get paid, and him wanting that Super Bowl. Last year he went off. This year I expect him to go off. The addition of J.K. Dobbins, they solidified this defense like none other. They did release Earl Thomas, but what I don't think a lot of people understand is how deep they are in their cornerback room. They can move Jimmy Smith around, who is a huge corner, who may be losing a step as he's getting older, can probably easily slide and transition to safety like so many other corners have. This guy will give you a bigger body in this safety department. Earl Thomas is like 5'9", 5'10". I think Jimmy is 6'1", maybe even 6'2". But they will find a way to get their best people on the field. This team is a fantastic organization. This team is ran correctly. This team is led by a great head coach. And Lamar Jackson, like I said, Lamar Jackson just has that dog in him, and he's coming with a chip on his shoulder, and everybody feeds off of him. You got a healthy Mark Ingram back who's going to be that bruising back. And like I said, you still have that young dog in J.K. Dobbins who is ready to unload on the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers also have them at 14-2. I just don't see many teams being able to stop Kyle Shanahan. This guy makes some fantastic decisions as a coach, play calling outside of the Super Bowls. Falcons, 49ers lost both of them. But he, during the regular season, fantastic play calls, fantastic play design. They do have some injuries, but their defense is still lights out. This defensive front still lights out. They still have everyone in their linebacker room and everyone in their secondary. This team is still poised. They should have that sour taste in their mouth from the Super Bowl loss, and they're going to be coming out ready to swing. New Orleans Saints, I have them at 12-4. Barring an injury to Drew Brees like last year, this team should kind of coast. This team is well put together. They have the addition of Emmanuel Sanders. We're finally giving them a second option in the passing game outside of Michael Thomas, which should open up better lanes for Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, who they are attempting to re-sign. This defensive front is very good. They were even in the talks of attempting to try to somewhat illegally get Jadeveon Clowney. They were going to have the Browns sign him. They were going to trade a second-round pick for him. The Browns were going to pay the $10 million, and the Saints pay the $5 million because the Saints are in cap hell. How they will sign Alvin Kamara, I have absolutely no idea. But I have this team going 12-4. The Indianapolis Colts, who have maybe the easiest schedule, I have them at 13-3. This is a well-oiled machine on defense. Barring any injuries, this is the most depth that I've ever seen on an Indianapolis Colts team since me being a Colts fan. This defense should be extremely good with the addition of DeForest Buckner. It should give those linebackers an opportunity to just run around and play ball. The secondary should be good. We have Phillip Rivers, who's going to bring a energy at the quarterback position that we haven't had in a while. Andrew Luck was more of a kind of chill and mellow guy. Jacoby Brissett was kind of trying to get his feet under him right now, but Phillip Rivers is a wily vet. Hopefully he doesn't bring those turnovers with him that he had in San Diego and LA, but hopefully he left them there and just can come here and get the fire on all cylinders. He understands the playbook. He already knows it. So I don't see any issues, any glaring issues, if you will. We have one of the best offensive lines in the game, one of the best running attacks in the game that we actually added to with Jonathan Taylor. So I think we'll be able to make things a little bit easier for Phillip Rivers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them at 14-2. I do have them losing this Sunday to the Saints, but Tom Brady it's like he's in maniac mode, if you will. Like, he is so focused. The entire stay-at-home orders, all throughout the peak, if you will, of COVID at the beginning, Tom Brady was outside. Tom Brady was training. Tom Brady was doing whatever he could to get and keep his edge, keep his body going. He did everything that he needs to do. This defense, a lot of people don't understand how good this defense really is, how young this defense is. Todd Bowles is a fantastic defensive coordinator. The addition of Antoine Winfield Jr., fantastic in my opinion. Todd Bowles coached the Honey Badger when he first came into the league and basically has another Honey Badger who's actually heavier. I actually think he may even have been faster in the 40. But this kid has pedigree. His dad was an all-pro in the league. This kid knows how to play ball. This defense is going to get after you. This offense now is not going to turn the ball over, which means the defense shouldn't be on the field as much as they were with Jameis Winston, which easily can equate to more wins. And my Super Bowl champions at 14-2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them going back to back. I just saw how much better this team got in the offseason. Not only did they get better by acquiring pieces, they paid players. Patrick Mahomes took that long $500 million extension so that they could sign Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones is happy. He's going to want to repay that back. Then they signed Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is happy. He's going to want to repay that back. They reworked Sammy Watkins' deal. Tyreek Hill is good. This offense basically has everyone coming back, plus the addition of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They'll be able to run the ball. They'll be able to somewhat control the clock instead of trying to put 50 up every freaking game, which this team offensively is possible. But this team also got better on defense. Willie Gay Jr., the linebacker out of Mississippi State, could potentially be the defensive rookie of the year. This kid is athletically on par with Isaiah Simmons, but this kid is nothing but a linebacker. He can cover, he can blitz, he can play the run, and he will strike you. With his hands on when he gets his hands on the ball, he tries to get into that end zone. This guy is going to become a leader on this team very fast, and he will be supplemented as the starter immediately, in my opinion, because he's probably the most athletic linebacker that they have. And now you're going to be playing against a retooled Denver Broncos team, a retooled offense over in Las Vegas with the Raiders, as well as a pretty decent offense in LA with the Chargers. But I think the Chiefs come out on top on the AFC West, and I also think they come out on top in the Super Bowl back-to-back, making Andy Reid look like one of the greatest coaches ever, and Patty Mahomes taking over for the new generation's GOAT. All right, everybody, man, I appreciate you guys watching. If you don't agree, let me know. If you do agree, let me know. Again, this is just my predictions, looking at the schedules, literally going through week to week, seeing what it is, seeing how every game could potentially play out, how the outcomes could potentially happen. But again, it's just my predictions and my predictions only. Appreciate you watching it. Again, I'm out of here. Holla.